Hey, what's going on everyone? This is iReviews back with another video, and Apple has just recently released the RC version of iOS 18.5, of course, as expected, as very soon we're getting the final release of iOS 18.5 to the public. Now, this is a really important update, and we also have some great news when it comes to the final release of iOS 18.5. Now, even though this is not the biggest of the updates for iOS 18, again, it's very important, and it brings some really nice changes to iOS 18.5. But let's quickly take a look at the RC version before we go further. Now you can see right here, this is the update for iOS 18.5 RC. Now if you're on the 4th beta or the 3rd beta, whichever beta of iOS 18.5 you're at, and you install the RC version, it will be quite big because this is a complete reinstall of iOS on your device. And you can see right here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it will be at around 7.5 gigs. It should be the same for most of the devices, around 7 to 8 gigs. So if you want to update, make sure that you have enough free storage on your iPhone. Now the RC version did bring a couple of really nice changes to iOS. First of all, a very important, satellite calling has now been enabled for the iPhone 13 series. So once you update your iPhone 13 or the 13 Pro or the 13 Pro Max to iOS 18.5, satellite calling will be enabled on your device. That's huge news for, of course, every iPhone 13 user. These are, of course, great devices. A lot of people use them, and a lot of people actually prefer the most the iPhone 13 Pro series. So again, great news for any users that have these devices. Another change with iOS 18.5 is the new Pride wallpaper. As we talked about on the previous video, Apple has actually added it right here to the RC version, and of course it will be available with the final release of iOS 18.5 next week. So if we add it right here, you can see we have this wallpaper that actually has these cool animations. When you swipe up here to go to your home screen, you can see how cool that is, and it will actually change between different animations every time you unlock your device. So it's actually pretty awesome. And you can see right here, even when I lock the device, you can see how cool that looks. When the device is on the standby mode, it actually looks really good. It has that like shade above it. It actually looks amazing on the standby mode, and it will actually change the colors, as you can see, every time you unlock and you lock your device. Now here we also have the latest test from Geekbench 6 with iOS 18.5 RC. Now you can see right here the multi-core score has actually dropped a bit, but it will most likely be way better in the next few days as this update will settle in on the device. But the single core score is actually amazing, even better than the last beta, which was at 2950. We have a small increase there, while again a small decline here on the multi-core score, but probably in the next 3 or 4 days, once I do another test, it should be much better. And also, if you missed my previous video, battery life is actually okay with iOS 18.5. Now this is a really polished, very stable update, so of course you'd expect to have also a good battery life. Now we can talk here about the previous betas because we just installed the RC and we'll have to wait for another week to see how the battery will perform. But the previous betas actually did quite good, and you can see right here with the battery health at 91%, most likely the real battery health should be at around 87 or 86, but I've got here like a constant like around 8 hours on screen with this battery on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's actually not that bad at all. And now let's talk about some really important things when it comes to the final release of iOS 18.5. Should you actually update your device to iOS 18.5? Well, in my opinion, you actually should. Now, iOS 18.5 is a very polished version of iOS 18. I know this is not iOS 18.4 with a lot of new features and changes. We have just some small new features and changes, but it's actually really good. And you will notice your device on the daily use, it's actually much better, very stable, very smooth. So this is an update that I would actually install on my device, and you should as well. Now when it comes to updating to iOS 18.5, there will be here of course two different scenarios. If you're on iOS 18.4 or 18.4.1, then it's pretty simple, very straightforward. All you have to do is make sure that you have enough free storage on your iPhone. You should have at least like 10 gigs of free storage. You can check that, of course, by going into the iPhone storage. You will have your free storage right there. If you see that you don't have enough, you can delete something off of your device, or maybe just delete an app like Facebook in this case, which has 7 gigs of documents and data right here. I can just go ahead and delete this, update my device, then of course install the app again and sign in, because those are just data. Because the app in this case is actually very small at around 300 megabytes, so that way you can free up a ton of storage, update your device without a problem. Now the second scenario here is if you're on the betas of iOS 18.5. If you're on the RC version, then you're done here. There is nothing else to do. You have updated. Once the public release goes out, you won't be able to install it because you already have it. It is the same update. The RC version, the public version are actually the same. So once you have updated, there will be no update for you here. Now, if you don't want to continue install betas of iOS, I suggest you go ahead and turn them off from here. Very soon we will also have another beta for 18.6, and then in a month another beta for iOS 19. So if you just want to wait for those, go ahead and turn that off from here. Now, in the third case, when you actually have one of the betas of iOS 18.5 installed on your device and you still have to install the RC, then you will have two choices. You can go ahead and just install the RC right now, which I suggest you do, because it's again the same update. I know a lot of people don't want to install it, they want the public release, but it's the same update. So just go ahead and install the RC version and you're good to go. But if you just don't want to do that, then without installing the RC version, you will probably see the RC right here. Just head on to the beta updates, turn them off, refresh right here, and the RC will be gone, and then you will have to wait for the public release to install it on your device. Again, of course, you can just go here, refresh the page, and once it's out to the public, you will be able to install it. And last but not least, let's talk about releases. Well, we're expecting iOS 18.5 to be released on May the 12th. That's a day that we have talked about for weeks now, and it looks like that will be the day that Apple releases iOS 18.5 to the public. It should come at around 10 a.m. Pacific time as usual. Usually that's when Apple releases new software updates. It might be late for like a couple of minutes or 5 minutes, but that should be the timeline for the release of iOS 18.5. Now, currently we know that there is also iOS 18.6 being tested, so expect a new beta to be released with iOS 18.6, and that might even happen the same week as the release of iOS 18.5, or maybe on the 19th or the 12th of May. Now, as far as we know by now, iOS 18.6 will bring Apple Intelligence to China, but we don't know of any new features, and I'm not expecting any big new features to come with this update. It should be kind of similar to iOS 18.5 because Apple, of course, has shifted its focus to iOS 19, which will be here on its first beta on June the 9th. We have now that confirmed, of course. WWDC 2025 starts here on June the 9th. After the event where Apple will introduce iOS 19, we will be able to actually install the first dev beta. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. This is iOS 18.5. This is what we're getting. Again, not a lot of new features and changes, but overall a great and very stable update. So that is it. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one.